basically redo all of our research. So, you know, that's something that we're exploring, but unfortunately, because I think the realities of their bureaucracy, you know, is going to be a little bit tougher. But, yeah, I mean, and that might seem like kind of a big number, but it's really not when you think about it. I mean, to have 15 centers in over 10 years, we would need about $25 million, and if we had that, we'd be finding patients for essentially under $100, which is much, you know, right within the range that the WHO says is a cost-effective TB diagnostic program. So hopefully it's an ambitious goal, but you know, hopefully we'll get there. We just got our first USAID contract, and we're getting a lot more buy-in from bigger, more sustainable funding sources. So that's hopefully a good sign for the scaling to come. And you know, the value and challenges, we talked a little bit about this. I talked a little bit about this, but the main one is the speed. I mean, the rats are lightning fast, as you can see, almost 50 times faster than a lab technician. And so that essentially allows us to, as I said, rescreen all of the samples from a major city in a day. And actually, as we've been doing more, as I said, you know, operational research, focusing more on the techniques, we haven't been doing same-day screening. But this year, we're transitioning to same-day screening, where all our results will be given simultaneously with the results that a patient would get from the clinic. And how it typically works for TB is you go, you give your student samples, you come back the next day for your results. We had a 5-day diagnostic delay before, so we were only able to track about 60% of the patients we found and get them on medicine. With the new same day, it'll go up to 97%. So it's almost a 50% increase in impact. The budget, it's only about a 20% increase in budget. So it's a really exciting, you know, initiative that's going on. And as the video said, the rats really do work for peanuts. They're very, very affordable. They are rewarded off avocados, all sorts of vegetables found in the local market. And you know, a big thing with, and I'll talk a little bit about this when I get to the Gen Expert, but with Gen Expert, which is a great machine, it's very sensitive and specific, but it's incredibly expensive. I mean, to scale it out in Dar es Salaam, for example, would probably cost between $5 to $10 million a year, which is almost, you know, more than the whole TB diagnostic budget of the whole country. So, you know, the rats, literally, for about $250,000 a year, we can rescreen all the samples in a city, which is a pretty good price, and that could come down as we make more operational improvements going forward. Another huge advantage is that the rats are extremely durable, and what I mean by that is, by having these speedy rats that can pretty much, there's no real variable cost to how many samples they screen, we can really handle upticks very, very well without having to say we were just screening, you know, with LED microscopy, which is our reconfirmation tool from the start. You know, some days you might get 500 samples, some days you might get 100. But to do the 500-day samples without the rats, you need 12 lab technicians, many of whom will just sit around those days, you know, being an expensive cost and driving your efficiency down. But by working with the rats, it's durable, again, can handle the system, inflows and outflows that are varied. And then the rats are very sensitive. Well, you know, I said there's a bit of issue with specificity. They pick up the majority of positives, over, you know, between 80 to 90%, which is quite good. You know, the average microscopy done in the centers, as I said, is only 50%, so it's a pretty big improvement on that. So main challenges, as I talked a little bit about, is managing specificity. There's a lot of, the rats are smelling a combination of volatile organic compounds that's inherent to TB, but also inherent to other respiratory illnesses. So right now, you know, our average specificity is about 72%, and that's why we have to go through this reconfirmation step. But the reconfirmation step is done by highly trained technicians using concentrated smear LED microscopy, which is much more sensitive than the ones that's done in the clinics. And a lot of what Lobo's story actually points at is that you know, it's centralized quality control, because at these individual clinics in Dar es Salaam, you have undertrained, understaffed, underfunded lab technicians who just, you know, they're diagnosing numerous diseases and they don't have the time energy or quality assurance procedures in place to really do a good job. But again, by having this center where the rats can be screened, we have 2 guys that are totally dedicated to this. They're experts at microscopy. We can improve the results a lot. Another challenge is what I briefly mentioned on GenExpert, which is a molecular machine that senses the DNA in the TB bacteria. And it's both highly sensitive and specific, but one test alone is $10. So that's pretty expensive in a place like Tanzania. I mean, if you're funneling through what we hope to in Ethiopia, 100,000 samples a year, that's $1 million alone. Plus, the machines are between $17,000 and $100,000, depending on how many samples they can run through them. So they're just highly unaffordable. But you know, a big problem is a lot of funders don't want to work with us to scale, even though we're affordable. You know, we have all these great values because the GenExpert, so much money was put into it. I mean, Cepheid is a for-profit company who developed it, but you know, there's a lot of vested interest from the WHO and other bigger, you know, funding organizations, and it's just kind of, this is their thing right now, so that's a definite challenge. One thing we might do in the future, though, is actually do our reconfirmation with GenExpert because it's a bit better than the microscopy we use, but we're still waiting on accuracy results to see sort of how you know, how the rats compare to GenExpert results. But if they're as favorable as we think, we could theoretically maybe cover the whole city in a sense with GenExpert for, you know, a fifth to a third of the price, like maybe between a third and a fifth of the price that it would normally cost, which is an exciting initiative for us because it also might bring places like the WHO more to the table as they see, you know, here's these crazy rats can sort of make our dream of scaling this really expensive machine feasible and affordable. And then, you know, the WHO themselves, without getting WHO certification, you can't become a subrecipient to global fund money, which, as you guys know, is the biggest, you know, source of TB diagnostic funding in the world for operations. But the WHO, while we have this algorithm that works to increase case detection by 45%, they're obsessed with just what is the sensitivity, specificity. I'll take questions here. Sensitivity, specificity of the rats alone. They don't really have good approval processes for algorithms, and so yeah, it's just really hard for us to do that. Plus, it would cost millions of dollars that we could be spending on operations. And at the end of the day, there is a shelf life on our technology, and at some point, they're going to have a cheap point-of-care diagnostic tool, and we don't want to waste all our time, you know, on the WHO approval while you know, while new technologies can make it so we're not going to have any impact with our technology. And then, you know, the other thing is patient results. And, you know, it's one thing to diagnose a patient, but to get them on medicine and make sure that they adhere to their treatment is a whole other thing. And, you know, the transition to same-day screening is a huge move for us to be better with patient results. But we're actually also forming a very dynamic partnership with Operation ASHA. I don't know if you guys heard of it, but they're a leading social entrepreneur that uses fingerprint verification technologies for treatment adherence. So our hope is that, you know, we're going to roll this out in Dar es Salaam with them as we go to same-day diagnosis. You're going to have a system that's detecting more patients and then making sure more people take their medicine. And right now, there's no real accurate baseline to how many patients are actually finishing their medicine. ASHA's had experiences where in India, for example, they went into I think areas of New Delhi where they said the patient adherence rate was 95%. When they got in there and started working, they actually uncovered it was 10 to 15%. So there's a lot of inconsistencies in government data around TB. But, you know, we kind of just know from being experts for the problem that if we work with them, we're diagnosing. I mean, we think that we could start seeing, you know, decreases in TB burden in the city, which would be fantastic. So, I should say one thing for the WHO. Well, as I said, it's not a focus for us right now. There is some pressure on them to start being more flexible with how they approve and endorse algorithms. So, of course, if that becomes something that's not going to cost us tens of millions of dollars and, you know, suck up tons of time, that's something we'll gladly do just because, you know, getting global fund money it will really help us scale. So, acute rat to finish off. And if you guys have any questions, I'm all ears. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering how long it takes to train each rat, and then how long they generally live and work.
Sure. So it's a very good point. They actually start their training in 9 weeks. They're done by 9 months, and then they live for 7 years and work all 7 years. You know, we put a price tag on training rats sometimes for funding purposes, but in reality, it's basically the variable cost of training a rat is next to nothing. It's literally just peanuts. And then, of course, you know, one other thing is, unlike, you know, a microscopy technician who needs an advanced degree and was relatively pretty expensive, the handlers that train a rat, rats are very mechanical. And they're not bond forming, so really anyone can be a rat trainer. I mean, you know, you need an elementary school degree, which makes it a lot easier to find people and manage the whole process. And most of our workers at Apoko, which we're very proud of, are locals, you know, with at most elementary, middle school degree and earning, you know, stable livings for what they would do otherwise.
Can the rats detect tissue samples other than sputum, like other types of TB from other parts of the body?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that we're considering doing research, particularly into urine and blood. But it's hard to do because there's not all the readily available samples. So you have to get those samples in, and then there's not really good reconfirmation tools. You might be able to use GenExpert, which is something we might be able to do in the future. But because we pride ourselves on being like a non-disruptive program in that we don't put any extra burden on the TB clinics. They're already very overburdened, understaffed, underfunded. We just want to, they put their sputum in a freezer, we come pick it up, and we give them more results. And that's kind of, you know, by doing things like that, we would be changing the system, which could really, you know, make things less efficient at the end of the day. But, you know, one thing, and I didn't mention this, we are doing some volatile organic compound research into what the rats are smelling. And that's going to be all available open source. And what we hope is that we can uncover, you know, some chemicals that can be useful for the magic bullet for TB diagnostics. It would be kind of like a home pregnancy test. And, you know, that's the thing that I really love about Apoko. I mean, we realize, well, this is a great effective technology right now. It's not the perfect solution, but we're actually going to help, through our operations, through the research that we get, hopefully help create that solution too. So even if it does at least put our TB detection out of business. So. Go ahead.
Do you go through any kind of health checkup during that 7 years time period to make sure that rats are just, their health is just as good as when they started first?
Yeah, sure. Another thing I should have mentioned, we actually take animal welfare incredibly seriously. These are without a doubt the most spoiled rats on the planet. I mean, as you can see, they're actually really cute, friendly animals if they're trained right. But yes, they have veterinary care around the clock. In Tanzania, in Tanzania and Mozambique, we work with veterinary schools. So we're hosted within veterinary schools, so they're getting checked up all the time. And before any of you guys, in terms of landmine detection, they're way too light to be blown up, because I think whenever I tell the landmine stories, a lot of people are thinking, are you guys just going around blowing up rats? Not at all. They're spoiled, to say the least. Any other questions? Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
How are you confident that that you ruled out the non-infected samples?
Well, in terms of just the sensitivity and missing.
Yeah. Do you go back and?
Oh, that's the non-infected samples is why we do LED concentrated smear microscopy as the confirmation tool. That's what we make the end diagnosis off of, and that's 99.9% specific.
So what do you do first?
We first do the rats. So suppose you get 500 samples in a day. The rats will go through all 500, indicate another 50 to 100 around there for reconfirmed confirmation by the LED microscopy. Which is, if we started with the concentrated LED microscopy from the start, our costs would skyrocket, and as I said, the system would be a lot less durable. It'd be a lot, you know, managing 10 technicians is a lot more of a challenge than only managing 2, particularly on the budgets that we want to work with.
So is the 70% accuracy data based on that?
No, it's based off culture. I mean, we've done accuracy studies in pretty controlled environments.
Is the reason for that 72%? Is that largely because there are a lot of false positives that they have, or is it just because they miss them?
Oh no, so the sensitivity, I mean, their sensitivity is 80%, which is, compared to microscopy is 50, so they're missing, 20 out of 100, but, microscopists in these centers are missing 50 out of 100, so that's not bad. And the specificity is, as I was talking about, like, people coming to clinics and complaining about lung infections have a variety of infections, often pneumonia, other things like that, and the rats are smelling chemicals. So we're not totally sure what the VOCs are, but sometimes it could be another disease. Other times it might be TB, but it's just extrapulmonary or sputum negative or smear negative TB. And to really know what's going on, you need to do hundreds of thousands of dollars of accuracy studies. So that's why we really like to focus down on the fact. I mean, we're increasing case detection by 43–45% on budgets that are really small, and you can look at those numbers, and as I said, we're not the perfect tool, we admit that, but we add a ton of value for the money that's spent in the now, which is, I think, the important thing.
It's really, really interesting. Thank you for coming to talk about this.
No problem.
Who thought about this?
Oh.
Yeah, I think this rat can smell TV.
So our founder is definitely a unique guy. He's a Belgian guy who always loved rats as a kid. Bred them, trained them, sold them to pet stores. He's a classic social entrepreneur. And also always had a lot of deep connection to Africa growing up. His family, I guess, around the clock hosted African exchange students. And, when Princess Diana was, really promoting the landmine issue a couple of decades ago, and there was all these, drive to get new tools to detect landmines, and Bart, our founder, said, hey, we should do something that's locally available, cheap. I know dogs can detect landmines. I know rats have just as good a sense of smell as dogs, and I bet they'll be way cheaper. Let's train them to do that. And, it took them 4 or 5 years, but with the cooperation with the University of Antwerp, they did that. And then, Wall in Tanzania, which has been our home base where we train both landmine and TB detection rats. He became aware of the TB program and, just hypothesized that the rats could pick up TB. And one of the main reasons is TB in Dutch or in Flemish, as they language, actually means smells like tar. So when a patient is near the end of life and they actually will emit a tar-like odor. So he said, well, if the bacteria is doing that, the rats can certainly pick it up in an early stage. And we're actually, some of you might have been reading about dogs detecting cancer. That's one thing that we might start doing research on. I mean, rats make a ton more sense for any sort of disease detection because they're easy to control, put in a cage, much cheaper, etc. But we are proudly the only operationalized animal disease detection in the world. And I think another cool thing about Apopo is we're a center of excellence in Tanzania. When dog cancer detecting organizations or research projects start, they often call on us to figure out standard operating procedures. So that's pretty cool.
Are you working out to discover what the bacteria exactly is? That there's something that you could create a machine that does a lot of what the rats do?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking into we're doing volatile organic chemistry or volatile organic chemistry research. I don't begin to understand the whole ins and outs of it, but the hope is that it's going to be all open source. That we're going to find a few chemicals that are unique solely to TB bacteria, that then could be used to create this dollar a test, even cheaper, something that would look like a home pregnancy test that could be used anywhere. I mean, if you can create something like that that's fully sensitive and specific, that's all you're going to need. It's all you'll ever need. So, yeah, we are doing research into that. No more rat questions?
All right, thank you.
Do you have a pet?
Me? No, I'm actually allergic to animals. It's pretty ironic. And I'll be honest, I'm not your classic animal lover like our founder. I just kind of fell in love with the organization because I found it so innovative. And at the end of the day, it's not complete hogwash. These things work, you know. They detect stuff and they're cheap. And yeah, but they are pretty cute. So.
Do you give them a retirement?
Actually, yeah, so we normally see that after about 6 years, their performance declines a bit, and yeah, they just kind of chill out in their cages and play with people and get lots of food. So it's, I mean, the individual rat performance does vary, and we constantly are doing internal quality controls, and if we see a rat's performance slipping, we'll put it in retirement at an early age, but the far majority live 7 years and or live 7 to 8 years and work for about 6. So.
Thanks, Johnny.
Well.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to talk this morning a little bit about what's happening in UAE and Europe. And before we do that, I think we should just introduce ourselves. Well, I did yesterday, so I'm Carolyn, and thank you for doing this yesterday. So it's UAE and Europe, and we have 2 other members here.
Hi everyone, so my name is Isabel and I'm part of the European Board and I study at the Royal College London and I'm from Germany originally.
Hello, I'm Julia, originally from Barcelona. I usually came to UAE UK since I was studying biomedical sciences at UCL in last year. Now I'm in Barcelona, and I'm one of the members of the European Virginity Committee. And you guys didn't say anything fun about yourselves.
No! You go first.
So, I usually speak at the new sport/dance, which is aerobics, sort of like rape, and that's my thing.
So curious fact about myself, I'm writing a book where the main character is suffering from schizophrenia.
I'm not sure how to follow either of those 2 things. But funny thing about myself, I don't know. I think I told you guys yesterday, I grew up about 40 minutes from here at Tufts University, from undergrad. So I had a funny realization yesterday of finding myself in a bar where I had been a long time ago and realizing afterwards suddenly where I was. Nice red memories. Okay, so we're going to get going this morning with our presentation. It's actually not a presentation, it's pop quiz. So get together with somebody, make a little pair or a group so you can compare notes, pull out a piece of paper if you like. So make sure you're sitting next to someone where you can talk, make a team. And we're going to test your knowledge of UAE and Europe. Don't do it by yourself, take the numbers, get a team. You guys can make a team. If you're ready, we're going to get going. So there's a lot of stuff happening in UAE and Europe. We're going to ask you some questions. We're going to ask you to make a choice. It's all multiple choice. Let's see how you do. Question number 1. Which of these working groups does not exist? Is it B, Empowerment Committee, C, Knowledge Stewardship Working Group, D, European Campaign Action Committee, E, European Coordinating Committee, or F, GAL Troubleshooting Team? What is your answer? Which of these working groups does not exist in UAE and Europe? Take your pick.
Ready?
And the correct answer is, how many people picked answer C, Knowledge Stewardship Committee? 1, 2, 3, okay. I'm sorry, you're wrong. The answer is D, European Action Committee does not exist. But what does exist are the following. So, Empowerment Committee. This is a new group. It provides training and resources to the chapters. They're just getting started and organizing a lot of reaching out to people in different places. It's a large group. The Knowledge Stewardship Working Group, they work on GAL, and they work on the university work, for example, that we heard yesterday about the lobbying and reaching out to the university administration, just like we do. European Coordinating works with chapters all over Europe to streamline activities, Julia being one of the representatives here with us today. And the GAL troubleshooting team, this is really when we have challenges. There's a group of people that are there to support and help those who are working on GAL. That involves different groups of people who can give guidance, but also just help when you're struggling. So you've got that block, and you need to be persistent, like we heard about yesterday.
What does GAL stand for?
It's the Global Access Licensing.
Alright, so question number 2. Which of these events did not happen during the Access to Medicines Week 2014? So A, the crowd-speaking website Thunderclap helped us reach over 90,000 people. B, UM Copenhagen covered a cultural building and photos of themselves with lots of pills. C, UAM UK organized a flash mob on London's Trafalgar Square and missed out the word medicine. D, Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel tweeted a line of support for UAM Berlin's efforts. Or E, UAM France made a short film which features a proposal. So, take your pick.
Take your pick. Take your pick.
Alright, so let's see. Who thought that A did not happen? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, everybody thought A happened. What about B? Okay. C? Alright. What about D? Okay, interesting. And E? Alright, so most of you got it right. D, unfortunately, did not happen. We wish it had, but no, it did not. All the other events happened, though, and we're just going to show you a few examples of those. So, this, for example, is a picture of the building in Copenhagen, with pictures of UAM members there. This is Thunderclap, and you can see here that more than 91,000 people saw the campaign, saw the petition that we launched. And this is the flash mob in Trafalgar Square. And so, and here is the video called Proposal that was made by UAM France. Has anybody seen this video? We don't have any sound. Does anybody know how to get the audio on the main speakers here?
Alors, on part en vacances ou t'as une alimentation?
Non, c'est pas ça. Tu sais, je suis pas à l'aise pour les discours, tout ça. Ça fait. Je voulais. Je t'aime, Julie. C'est là.
C'est exactement celle-là. Mais comment t'as fait? Non mais là, ça a dû te coûter une fortune.
petit peu avec.
Non, merci. Je crois que je vais attendre le bon moment en fait.
Help in the Asian Week in Europe. And now another video. This is the flash mob in London on Trafalgar Square. So that was just a quick, to give you a quick idea of what we did in Access Medicine Week last year. Now, some other things that we did in the past year. We sent a delegation to the United Nations in Geneva this February because they were holding a social forum on access to medicines. And I was actually on that delegation. We had about 10 people there, and there were lots of representatives of not just countries, but also all sorts of organizations that are really important in the access to medicines field. And UAM took the floor a few times and highlighted the importance of universities in the access to medicines field. So that was a really, really great event for us.
Together with North America, we also sent 10 people delegation to the World Health Summit this year, where we will ask some important questions such as why was the Millennium Development Goal 8E on access to medicines not reported on any of the MDG reports that came after the goals were set. And UAM Germany actually managed to speak a few times to their German delegation, and they got retweeted by them, which was quite a good thing. Irene Romero from Spain went to the EU Council with the coordination last week, and they had a panel debate on access to medicines and the need for a reform of the R&D system. And we recently had the international meeting in Vienna, where Germany, Switzerland, and Austria got together. And next week, I think it is, there's the UAM Francophone Conference, where UAM France is really starting to take up again. There's been a struggle for some time with the language, and now there's this Francophone Conference that brings people from France and other countries together, and that's quite a great event that is going to happen. So now, we would like to ask you if you know who are these European UAMers who are dressing their Halloween costumes. So does anyone know Max whether he's on the board, on the ACC, or a member of staff?
Board.
Board. Good. Yeah. That's sorry. Yeah. So Max is on the European work. He was on the World Health Summit last week, where he was watching Max Browner, who was giving a workshop on UEM accessibility during the World Health Summit. So, Adi Nagani, do you know who she is? So, is she a member of the board of the ACC or a member of staff? Staff, yeah. So she's our new campus and campaign organizer, and she did an amazing work this September on a Berlin training camp where we had the chance to speak to 2 German politicians, and we had the chance to be trained by a professional journalist who's actually our dear Lucas' brother. And we were put on the spot in front of the camera, which was pretty amazing. Do you know who Nina is, or which body does she belong to? Nina Luz. Any guesses? Yes. So she's part of the European Coordinating Committee. She's from Copenhagen. And a week ago, she went to Sweden to recruit many members of UEM in Sweden to start a UEM Nordic kind of group, since we had members in Denmark and Norway, but no one from Sweden yet. And finally, Manuel, do you know where he's from? UK, yeah, but which group does he belong to? Yeah, so he's also part of the European Coordinating Committee, and there are so many things about him that I don't know what to say, but I think I'll say that he was part of the organizing committee for our last European conference, which was in London, and then
yeah, just a few words about the conference. So we had our annual conference in London last April, and it was a huge success. We had over 200 participants there from 20 countries, not just in Europe, but all over the world. So a huge number of people there, and we had some great panel events and workshops there. And I mean, considering that all of this happened in London on a minimal budget, we managed to get a really great event in the end, and everybody was really happy.
So, now, this question is, what did UEM Freeburg in Germany do to get their global access licensing policy at their university made, I think? Did they ask the dean to give a supportive speech at UEM event? Did they invite the CTO for tea? Did they embrace the Stage of Active project, Stage of Flash Mob, or did they bribe their CTO with cookies, universal cookies? Do you know? So, we'll give you 10 seconds again.
Talk amongst your groups and decide on one answer.
So, what they did do. So, who think they asked their dean to give a supportive speech at the UEM event? Who thinks they invited the CTO for tea? Cool. Who thinks they embraced the working project? That's not doing that way. Who thinks they staged a flash mob? Mm-hmm. Couple hands. And who thinks that they bribed the CTO with cookies? A great majority. They actually staged a flash mob. After talking to their CTO since 2012, they were not getting much progress. But with their new dean for research and education, they decided they would go in front of his office and stage the flash mob. They did the flash mob the night before, so they could get some media coverage for that, and that's what actually made the CTO to listen to them and to actually say, okay, we're gonna talk to you, and we're gonna get a global access license with you. And now we're gonna show you a quick video of their flash mob.
Ready, gentlemen, whoever makes any that campaign. And let's go. Inspire your life, campaign. Und damit eigentlich jetzt. Und das, obwohl 50, 21 wichtigsten Medikamente.
This is a dance university that got a socially responsible license in Europe. Now we have 6 universities in the UK, which have as well 3 in Germany and 1 in Italy.
All right, so next question, and just a quick one. So, which of these statements is true? So we have a professional boxer on the European Coordinating Committee, or B, the UK National Coordinator Diz Gotham had the UN logo tattooed on his shoulder, or is it D, the participants of the 2015 conference in London were housed in a former bunker? So just talk amongst your groups really quickly and tell us an answer. Alright, so let's have a quick show of hands. So, who thinks that we have a professional boxer on the coordinating committee? Okay. Who thinks that Diz Gotham had UN shoulder? Right, okay. What about D? Who thinks that the conference participants were housed in a former bunker? Alright. Now actually, none of these statements are true. So I guess the takeaway message here is to always be skeptical of information. Although actually, on the 2014 conference in Basel, the participants were housed in a former bunker, so that's almost true.
So next question, which of these projects are UAM and North America not working on together? So A, what are we not working on together? A to M Week, the Vacuum Project, the R&D Agreement Campaign, the Starting the Transatlantic Rock Band, the WHO Pastor Working Group, the R&D Agreement together. Take your pick. Take your pick. 5 seconds. What are we not? How many people think A to M Week? Alright, how many people think C? So we have no A on this, actually. How many people think C? How many people think D? Anybody for E? F? And G? Sadly, the answer is E, but I really think that's wrong. We gotta start something here, guys. Any musicians in the audience? Yeah, okay, let's talk afterwards. And our last question, what Europe is singing on So, B, All I Want for Christmas is Drugs. C, Profit, 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 we'll find another way. That's the Beatles song. Last Christmas I gave you my drugs. Should public interest be forgot? This is Old Lang Syne. Should public interest be forgotten? Yeah. But R&D, with R&D, when profits got, all fairness is left behind. Or the last one, and so this is pharma. For rich and for poor ones, the world is so wrong. You know that too, right? And so this is pharma. Yeah? All right, so take your pick. Is it B, C, D, E, or F? Yeah.
All the above.
Oh, you really angry? Do you have your choice? How many people think B? Raise your hand. All right. C, everybody the song. All right. D, last one. All right. E, Old Lang Syne. And F, and so this is pharma.
Yeah.
And the correct answer is All I Want for Drugs. So we have a little video to show you as evidence that this is really happening.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents. Just get rid of my disease. I don't want a life of pain. They tell me that I'm insane. I don't want these bugs. All I want for Christmas is drugs.
That's productive from you.
we actually shockingly on time. And we have a breakdown, and then we're going to go to the guacamole sessions. Thank you for that awesome update. I think we're going to have maybe a singing competition over the holidays. See if North America can challenge Brazil. Where's Brazil? Yeah. Yeah. And India. Where's you in India? Yeah. And I think maybe we can come up with something like that. So we have a 15-minute. Huh? Yeah. We have a 15-minute break, and then we go to the guacamole sessions. There's going to be multiple sessions at the same time, and they repeat. I'll leave some of these outside so you can come and have a look at the program. But just a quick summary here. So all the numbers for the rooms, if they start with a 3, they're on the 3rd floor. There's some on the 5th floor as well, so just pay attention. But in 311, we have with Varun and Ali how universities can use the report card to impact change on campus. CGS 313, we have A2M Week. Hannah and Julia are going to be leading that. Then we have the cultural competency for your organization with Marcelino and Felipe. And that's in 315. And let's see what we have next. Then we have the op-ed writing workshop for the R&D agreement campaign with Sophia and Samik. That's in 321. Then we have the creative activism workshop with Peter. And then Jake, that's in 323, sorry. And then Jake is going to teach us how not to make a documentary in 421. So have a think about what you want to do. And then in theory, everything switches, and you can they'll repeat. So you can pop into the session at 11:45 if you want to go to 2 different ones. But you're welcome to stay in one session all the way through. And then that will run until 12:30. So we'll meet back here at 12:30 for lunch. Grab some coffee and then head to your room. So thank you. Thanks for the nice morning.